This podcast is part of the Garnet Media Group podcast network. Garnet Media Group is a partnership between the student-run media outlets at the University of South Carolina. Find out more about Garnet Media's podcast and other student work at garnetmedia.org. Good morning, Gamecocks. I'm Chloe Findlay.
And I'm Meagan Daukshus. We're back for the summer, giving you a recap on the news and happenings on the USC campus and around Columbia.
I'm Caroline Smith, and we hope you're enjoying our summer podcast edition of Good Morning Gamecocks. This week, the Southeastern Conference officially welcomed 2 new teams.
USC may be working to develop a lot of land in Columbia.
Zillow is suing Richland County for withholding data.
And I'll give our hosts a U.S. history pop quiz in celebration of Independence Day. We hope to get your weekend started in the right direction. Welcome to Good Morning Gamecocks.
Welcome back, everyone. If you haven't noticed, we will be missing Delaney this week, but she will be back with us soon. As usual, we have the other usual suspects, Meagan and Caroline. How's everything's going today?
Good. I'm doing good. How about you, Caroline?
I'm doing pretty well. I am currently out of town, but doing the podcast anyway. But I'm having a great time. It's really boring up here in cursed Orange City. I'm in Clemson, if you didn't catch that.
The upstate.
The upstate.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about them. We don't like to talk about them in Gamecock country.
I will admit, though, they are having some rather phenomenal weather up here. And on last week's podcast, we talked about how hot it's been in Columbia. And this morning, it was only like 65 degrees up here. So I'm thriving.
Yeah, well, enjoy what you can in the Orange City because, there's not much.
That is true. It's lots of farmland.
Well, for our superior South Carolina students, our Gamecocks, we've got some stories for you to kick off your weekend, starting with 2 new additions to the SEC. Texas and Oklahoma have officially joined the Southeastern Conference. Yay!
Yay!
Okay.
I feel like the SEC just keeps growing. We just keep adding schools. It's just getting bigger and bigger.
There's been a lot of rigmarole about the changing in conferences for the last couple of years. There's been a lot of rumblings on like ESPN about who's going to be where. Yeah. So tell us about our new friends.
Yes, exactly. So Texas and Oklahoma, they were co-founders of the Big 12 back in 1996. And after 3 years of deliberation, they're finally moving over to the SEC. Both are very excited. I read that both in Austin and in Oklahoma City, they're throwing big parties on their campus, in town, all around the state, parades. The SEC league motto is "It just means more," and they're pretty excited about joining us down here.
I mean, I feel like the parties are kind of overkill, but like as a Gamecock, having been in the SEC, forever, I grew up a Gamecock. It's a pretty great place to be. I don't really blame them.
Yeah, I mean, they just want to be us. I mean, joining the SEC, what can we do? I do know, though, some people were pretty upset about the SEC expanding. Reading Twitter and Instagram, and a lot of people that are really big into sports, they were not happy that we got new people joining our conference. So,
do they have legitimate reasons for that? I'm not asking this out of like trying to be like nasty towards people who think that. I'm genuinely a little bit behind on this piece of news, so I'm glad we're talking about it. So I know that there are people who have been bemoaning this expansion of the Southeastern Conference. Why are some people against this?
What I have kind of been seeing is like the SEC is like, we have our teams, kind of thing. Like they don't want people to, just come into like, they don't, I guess also like the changing around of like, oh, how like, can anyone just join the SEC at this point? Like, I think people are kind of upset that, that we're getting new ones, especially after having the teams that we have in the SEC right now, minus Texas, Oklahoma, have been in the conference for so long. I think people don't like they don't like change. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I can think of 2 things. One of them being the SEC is steeped in tradition. I mean, it is like the hub of college football. This is where really college football began, and it got really, really competitive and really it becomes part of the culture. And so I think part of it comes from the idea that these teams that were in the SEC feel like this is theirs and they don't really want it to be infiltrated. They don't want that culture to be infiltrated.
I also feel like calling, this might just be the purist in me, but I'm a South Carolinian. I'm all for that tradition. I feel like calling Oklahoma Southeastern is a little bit of a stretch.
Yes. Now, wasn't there this piece of news semi-recently? There were some schools in California that wanted to join the SEC. Did I hear that?
I understand the if you can't beat them, join them mentality, but there has just already, we just talked about how the SEC has been this powerhouse of especially college football, but SEC baseball is a really big thing. And every year there are almost half of the SEC ends up in the NCAA like basketball tournament. Like there's just got to be more than one conference that's this good. I know that people who are purists for the SEC love that, at least to us who are in it, we're allowed to be biased, that we're the best. And a lot of people who have been for an SEC team for a long time believe that it's the best. But like, get some healthy competition up in here. We've got to be able to create a West Coast conference that like can pull its own weight.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the Pac-12, which is sort of Western, is totally dissolving. I mean, it seems the Pac-12 are just going everywhere. Arizona and Colorado, among others, are joining the Big 12. Oregon and UCLA, among others, are joining the Big 10. It's just the Pac-12 I always thought of as like that Northwestern conference. That's just totally going away.
Is it? And this might be the business student in me, but to what degree does your conference standing have to do with like athletic funding at a school? Is there any connection?
Like based on what standing you're in, how much funding you get? I mean, what conference you're in?
Does being in a quote unquote better conference affect your funding? Or maybe at least being in the SEC seems like to me it would certainly affect someone's ability to sell tickets. Like, is there a financial incentive to this?
I don't know. I don't think it's like the SEC is not giving schools money, but I think that universities might put more money into those programs. But I would also see that if you think of a school that is a D3 school versus a D1 school, it's almost like obviously the D1 schools are putting more money into their sports than a D3 school is. And the D1 schools are usually also bigger too. So they're getting more funding for those teams to begin with. So I don't know. I think it'd be interesting if there's any like stats on that. And if you can find like, what maybe like if you can see like, you can see what universities put money to. If we look at Oklahoma's last year and what they're going to do this year or next year.
Yeah, I mean, you think about these SEC powerhouse schools with football. I mean, think about Alabama and like how much of their university's funding goes towards this incredible football program that we have. Like they probably wouldn't ever consider changing to another conference. So are other schools, is it like a grab bag situation?
Well, one of the things that I just read, and I didn't even realize until now, is that there are certain broadcasting companies and certain television companies that only show games from a specific conference. So like the Big Ten network, the SEC network, the ACC network. I wonder how these switches are going to impact broadcasting deals.
So if there's not a financial incentive, there might be a visibility incentive.
Yeah.
It almost makes me think of College Game Day too. I mean, I know being on College Game Day is a huge deal. We had it at our USC versus UNC game last year, which sucks. It wasn't on either of our campuses, but I think it's like more teams in the SEC have College Game Day come to them, I believe. I mean, I'm not sure, but I feel like I see them at more SEC schools than they are others.
Another question I have would be, two schools isn't a lot, but some of these conferences, a lot of conferences are changing right now. Some of them are gaining more than two or losing more than two teams. How is this going to impact game scheduling?
I mean, we saw this year, we're playing teams that we haven't played in years. We're playing Alabama. We haven't played Alabama in years. So these new teams coming in, they had to change schedules around. And also, I know with games, you only play certain teams every few years. This year, our biggest loss is we're not playing Georgia. The USC Georgia rival is it's a big deal, even though sometimes we did great last year, then we lost, but if anyone's watched that game.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
I think what's gonna be a little interesting is to see how rivalries are impacted and see if there's rivalries that dissolve and new rivalries that grow. Because if you're thinking about conference rivals in the Big Ten, Oklahoma's a big team in the Big Ten. Maybe they're not now that since they're in the SEC, they need to play X number of SEC games. And you have to wonder what teams do we still want to play from other conferences. And I think it's going to change schedules a lot. It's going to change scheduling a lot and we're going to see matchups that we haven't seen possibly ever.
Yeah. And it's already changed scheduling. I mean, football schedules come out like a year or two in advance. Like we had our teams for this year, like back last fall. So we know almost a year in advance of what teams we're going to be playing. So, I mean, we'll see in a few months and we'll get back to you guys when we're back in the studio about that one. But I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to play some new teams. I mean, we've been playing the same old. We got some new teams this year. We got LSU, Bama. I don't know if we're playing Texas or Oklahoma. I want to say we're playing Oklahoma though.
We are. We're playing them in October, mid-October.
All right. I think that'll be a fun game. So.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty fun.
I mean,
I like seeing that.
There are always going to be purists for things like a conference or for particular sports, but I feel like for the majority of us, football is football. We're going to the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially Gamecock fans. They'll be there no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be there.
100%. But regardless, both Texas and Oklahoma, the athletic directors were both thrilled with the move. Texas athletic director said that this is a day we have been building towards for years. And the Oklahoma athletic director said, our teams are poised for success and look forward to the competition with many of America's most outstanding universities. So I guess
they're excited. That's great.
Yeah, I guess it does. It just goes back to the fact that SEC is just, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit biased because I go to an SEC school, but SEC just seems like the purest form of football. And it looks like people are really excited to engage in that culture.
I guess we're going to kind of keep on the topic of Gamecock football because the University of South Carolina is continuing their plan that may change how tailgating is done near Williams-Brice Stadium. So last year, USC announced a plan to develop on open land surrounding Williams-Brice Stadium, which was around the Congaree area and up the river, around the Olympia area as well. On Tuesday, they issued a request for proposal, which pursues private development partners who want to partner with the university for a land agreement. So basically, this means that contractors they can start bidding to work on this project with the university. What they want to do with this land is add new lodging, dining, retail areas, bringing like a whole new life into the, Congaree, Olympia area of Columbia. And I didn't even know, I mean, there's very little land left in Columbia to build on, unless you're going to knock down, some old buildings, which there's laws with that, or neighborhoods that are, I guess, a little bit, not developed. But this is like the last bit of land we got. The university owns it, and they're going to do something about it and build on it. Now, there's no set date of, when building is going to start or when they hope to get this project done. It's going to be a pretty big project, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what new liveliness is going to be brought to like the Olympia area, because it's a little bit quiet right now. And I think this is like a good opportunity for Columbia and for the university.
I wonder how people in the Olympia area think about this, because if they chose to live in a quieter area of Columbia, I wonder what they'll think about it becoming more of a student hotspot, nightlife hotspot. Curious to see what the response to this is, because for us, it seems great, right? We're students and we want to, have the big culture and the extravaganza, you might say, but for potentially families, potentially elderly people, potentially just people who don't want to be involved with this stuff. I don't know how much they're going to like this.
I will say a lot of the neighborhoods over in that Olympia area are dominated by student rentals. So the people we'd be displacing are the people who theoretically the new housing being built would help support, or at least we would hope.
So the land that they'll be using, a lot of people think, Olympia, Granby area, it's going to be around Stadium Suites. There's a lot of open land there. So, I mean, but still, like you said, the area is still like dominated by college kids. If you were to live in that area, I'm sure you have to be a huge Gamecock fan because, I mean, if you're choosing to move into Gamecock country, surrounded by college students, it's going to be a little bit loud, a little bit crazy, but I think the opportunity for the like housing, I'm not sure if it's housing or if it's, hotels or anything like that. But I would like to see hotels because that would make it easier for fans who are coming out of town to stay and easily have access to going to the games.
Yeah, so this all sounds really great, but it sounds like what they're doing to the Bull Street district right now, which is great on paper, and the apartment complexes are so shiny and new and the restaurants are great, but it's gonna be done in like 20 years. And right now it's just kind of miserable and unlivable. And the office that I work in right now is in the Bull Street district. So we're just dealing with all the construction noise in those buildings. So this is like, we're gonna bring new lodging and dining and retail and all this cool stuff closer to the stadium.
It's gonna take forever.
Revolutionize tailgating. And I'm like, this is gonna be a huge inconvenience, almost to the point of possibly deterring tailgating while it's happening. That is a little off-putting to me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, I feel like by the time that's built, I'm gonna be bringing my kid to college.
Yeah,
and it'll finally be done.
It's gonna take a while. It almost reminds me of how they're going to tear down the Russell House. It's just gonna cause so much destruction and chaos for, I can't even guess how many years that's gonna take.
I will say the new dorms on campus, what are they called?
Campus Village.
Yeah, the new apartments on Campus Village, that got built up in 3 years. They started building it our freshman year. Exactly. So I wonder if any of the contractors involved with that, because the land's owned by the university, if we'll see this get built up faster than we expected.
It almost seems like there's always a construction project going on in Columbia. There's always
has to grow.
I know, I understand that. It just seems like there's so much going on at once. And I guess that's part of being in a capital city and being in a city that's populated with, professionals, government officials, college students. I guess that's to be expected. But I don't know. I kind of think the area around Williams-Brice is a little vacant. So I'm excited to see what this looks like.
Yeah, it's a little freaky out there. So I kind of like the idea of this too.
Yeah, it just kind of like blows my mind. It baffles me that when I go from the campus to the stadium, we're just riding just residential roads with houses. It's not, you're just going through like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's just,
and it's all college kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of housing, the popular housing company, Zillow, is suing Richland County. So Zillow states that Richland County is not providing the company the data it needs regarding tax assessments and property data after Zillow filed a FOIA for the document. For those of you who don't know, FOIA stands for the Freedom of Information Act, which essentially allows people and companies to request government documents that have been previously unreleased. So basically, Zillow's saying that they can't give an accurate assessment of prices of houses and whether they're for sale or not without this data from Richland County. That's essentially what's going on. South Carolina law allows people to access public record law, with of course exceptions for, classified documents. But South Carolina is saying, Richland County is saying, hey, Zillow, all this information is already available to you. We don't have to compile it for you. Zillow is arguing that the information they need is not, in fact, online, and Zillow wants Richland County to compile this data for them. So Richland County is striking back and saying South Carolina law does not necessarily require a county to create a new document for a FOIA request. And Richland County is saying all this information is for you online. It's not all in the same place, so you will have to do the work to find it. And the FOIA request, we don't have to put it together in a document for you, so we're not going to do it. So Zillow is suing them.
God, corporations are so bored, aren't they? They're so, everything you just said was like, I understand both sides of the argument, which means that this is nonsense.
Yeah, it's a little silly. The lawsuit said, quote, even if the websites referenced by Richland County had complete information, Zillow specifically requested an electronic copy of the assessment files for all the parcels, not the option to search parcels one by one online.
Yeah, man, I get that. Like, if you're Zillow and your job is to provide future homebuyers, potential homebuyers, with an accurate history of this property, you need to know that, and that needs to be information that a company like Zillow can provide on hand immediately. And they rely on government public records to get that done. And if the public records aren't doing their job, well, then someone has to do the job. And if Richland County's like, we don't want to do the job, then, I mean...
I think it's weird, though, because, like, Richland County does not have to offer it to be in this one single electronic document. I mean, if Zillow wants it so bad into one specific document, hire a few interns to gather the information into one document.
This is literally what I do at my internship, is compile information so other people don't have to.
That's what I was thinking. You can hire people if you want it all in one place to do the job. But I don't think they want to pay someone to do the job since it's free. It's free documents.
Is Richland County the only county in the state or even in the US that Zillow has beef with right now?
I honestly don't know.
This seems like the kind of lawsuit that they would be. This seems like the kind of problem that they might be dealing with in a lot of places.
Well, I will say that prior to 2022, Zillow has requested this document. It seems like annually. Prior to 2022, Zillow has submitted the FOIA request and gotten the information from Richland County with no trouble. So I'm not exactly sure what has changed since then. So
that is interesting. Okay, well.
It does seem like Zillow has a few kinds of, cases going on, but nothing directly related to the Richland County situation.
What I find
litigation is a lot of work. I feel like they wouldn't be doing this unless it wasn't like really important.
That's what I'm saying. In my mind, I'm thinking Zillow is a huge corporation. It's huge. Why is it such a big deal that they have to go search for this information for one county in South Carolina? I can't seem to wrap my head around that unless it is a trend. And there are other counties that are doing the same sort of thing. But I haven't seen anything of the like. I mean, I guess also that's not the kind of thing that would make national news either until it became a really big problem. So maybe this will be something that we see in the near future.
Yeah, we should keep our eye on this one. This is an interesting case. Just based on what you've told us tonight, I can see both sides of this. So
yeah, I think
I'm
it's
interested to keep watching this.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see who's gonna kind of win this battle, because you would think, why doesn't Columbia just give it to them the way they want? Their website will help people bring more people into the city and into Richland County, and spend money on taxes and things all around the city. But then again, why would Zillow want to do all the the little work that doesn't necessarily need to be done?
That wraps up all of the Columbia news we have for you tonight, but I have prepared a little history pop quiz for Chloe and Meagan today in commemoration of Independence Day. How are you feeling?
I'm so excited.
Meagan Megan thinks her knowledge of the Hamilton musical is going to launch her towards success in this little quiz, but
I do love history and I do watch Jeopardy, so
I have hope for you guys. I feel like I enlisted the help of a lovely political historian to help me write these. So we'll see. Some of them were a little out there. I tamed down some of the questions I got, and I wrote a few of my own. So
all right,
we'll
let's
see,
do it.
See how well you know your Revolutionary War history and July 4th trivia. So first off, I think we need to establish the significance of July 4th as a date. So I have 3 questions for you. We're going to rapid fire them off as fast as we can, guys. Okay. All right. When did the Revolutionary War start?
Oh, Megan, this is not going to be good.
Already.
1776.
No,
New
no.
York City. I don't know.
No.
Pardon me.
Wait.
Are you Aaron Burst?
Wait, let's think this through. About how long do you think the Revolutionary War was? This is really bad, Megan.
Hold on.
The last time I studied U.S. history was 4 years ago.
I'm trying.
I
hold
should
on,
know
I'm trying to think of the
this.
songs. I'm trying to think of the songs.
Well, if it ended on July 4th,
17.
No.
it did not end on July 4th.
That's just when they signed
This is what
it.
we're trying to establish right now is what actually happened on July 4th. So my first
They
question.
signed the Declaration of Independence.
No.
Oh, no.
I thought that's the day they physically signed it.
That is also incorrect.
Okay, I'm going to take a guess. The Revolutionary War started on February 12th.
No.
Am I
What year?
anywhere close?
All right, let's just narrow it down to a year at least. What year did the Revolutionary War start?
1781.
No, that's the time
No!
it went
We
down.
signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776.
That's what I
So the war happened
17
before that.
1771.
No, that's better than 81.
1773.
You're getting
1773.
closer. You're getting close.
1774.
4. 5.
1775.
1775. If any of you have ever been to Boston, then you will know about a man named Paul Revere. Paul Revere's midnight ride to Lexington and Concord marked the first shots of the Revolutionary War on April 19th of 1775.
I read that book. Didn't Paul
Listen, my
Revere write a
children,
book?
and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th
Yes.
of April in 75. Hardly a man is still alive to remember that famous day and year. That was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in the poem Paul Revere's Ride, which honestly, Longfellow's poem is most of the reason why we even talk about Paul Revere anymore at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now that we've established when the Revolutionary War started, when was the Declaration of Independence signed?
July 4th.
No.
Can I use Google?
No.
Is it? Okay, it's after 1776. It's during 1776.
Isn't it like July 1st or something?
No.
Or like
July.
3rd? Maybe it was like July 3rd at midnight.
Megan, this is not looking good for us.
You're probably not going to get this one right, so I'll just throw you this one before I ask you the third question.
September
So, the
17th.
Declaration of Independence was signed on August 2nd of 1776, so after July 4th.
Interesting.
So, your last question about dates is when was the Declaration of Independence drafted?
July
When
4th.
was it written?
July 4th. July 4th. July 4th.
No.
What? What is July 4th?
Bruh.
That's the point, guys!
Oh my gosh. When was it drafted? Okay, it was signed August 2nd. So it had to have first been drafted afterwards. I mean, before.
It
Had
could
to
have been
have been
drafted though, like completely before, like in the middle of the war.
Megan, you were really close with your
July
like,
1st.
just a couple days, almost
July
July
3rd?
2nd.
July 2nd.
So if the Revolutionary War started in April of 75, the Declaration of Independence was signed in August but drafted on the 2nd of July. What actually happened on July 4th? So the Declaration of Independence was formally adopted by the Second Continental Congress on July 4th. The document was started being drafted on the 2nd, and revisions had to occur over the next couple of days. And the official document was adopted on the 4th. This marked the colony's official severance of all political affiliation with Great Britain.
I'll make sure I tell everyone that at the barbecues this weekend.
Yes.
You better. You just really struggled learning that, so you deserve to spread all this knowledge.
That was pretty rough.
It's going downhill from here, so strap in.
Oh no. You know, Megan, it's really good that we're not trying to be historical reporters.
Yeah, I do love history, but I guess this is just not the part of history that stuck in my brain. I will say remembering dates is like I never remember dates.
I agree.
My history
Remembering
teachers
dates is terrible. Remembering dates is the worst. So let's change categories. Let's move on to some people.
Okay. I think we
this.
can do this. I think we can do this, Megan.
All right.
Yes.
I think you've got this first question. Who was the first signer of the Declaration of Independence?
You got this, Megan.
Alexander Hamilton.
No.
Thomas Jefferson.
No.
James Madison. George Washington. John Hancock.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go, Megan.
I thought he was one of the last because his signature was so big. Interesting. I kind of went through every historical person I knew from the American Revolution when I answered that question.
So good old John Hancock was the first. Some guy named Edward Rutledge was the youngest signer of the Declaration of Independence. He was 26. And during his life, he became the governor of a state. Which one?
South Carolina.
Correct.
Because of Rutledge College.
Yeah. So he was the governor of South Carolina from 1798 until his death in 1800. Anyone who's ever been to South Carolina orientation, which started this week actually, knows the university was founded in 1801. So he was a pretty typical Southerner of the time. He was just, he was like a plantation owner. He was from Charleston. He just kind of, he married into the rather famed Middleton family. Middleton Plantation is still a place in Charleston of the plantations that does a pretty respectable job commemorating all facets of its history, and the gardens of it are meticulously maintained. Edward Rutledge's house in downtown Charleston is now a bed and breakfast. During his life, he declined a seat on the Supreme Court, which is interesting. And during his gubernatorial term, South Carolina was sectioned off into counties that still exist.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Multiple choice question for you now. During his lifetime, who did George Washington not lead troops against? Who did he not lead troops against? The British, the Spanish, the French, or Americans?
By Americans, you mean Native Americans, right? Or
not particularly, no.
I honestly think it's Americans, because wasn't he dead by the time Civil War came?
Yes, Megan. Megan, there was a whole lot of fighting between the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. Those were like 70 years apart.
Wait, what?
Okay, wait. Let's think this through, Megan.
Wait, no, hold on. I'm confused. What did you say?
There was like 90 years between the Civil War and the Revolutionary War.
Things are really
Exactly.
Yeah, so of course he's dead. Are you kidding me?
No,
Because people lived to
exactly.
130 back then?
No, but do you see my point? Is that why would we fight against Americans
I don't know.
during then?
don't
Because
know.
he wasn't alive during the Civil War, and that's when Americans fought against Americans.
Okay,
But
I see your logic.
That's how I was thinking. Okay, anyways.
I see. That's good logic. I was thinking, who did we fight against in the War of 1812?
The Spanish.
We did?
I think so.
So
I think we need to establish when George Washington died.
okay, I think that's a good idea.
I think that's probably important, and I'm just going to throw you a bone on this one. George Washington died in December of 1799.
Oh, wow. He didn't even make it
That
to
stinks.
1800s.
It's actually kind of sad. Like literally, he died on December 14th of 1799. Almost there.
It's rough out here.
Almost.
That stinks.
Okay, so let's place in a guess. Are we gonna say Americans?
You're
Yeah.
completely wrong. Washington, a valiant attempt.
French.
There was a lot of discourse
French.
there, and I enjoyed that. What?
Is it the French?
No.
I don't
Is
know
it
them.
the Spanish?
It is, in fact, the Spanish. He never fought the Spanish.
I feel really not good about this.
Yeah,
I feel
Yaz,
like
not
this,
great.
maybe this is why I love history. That's the thing. I just guess I don't retain it.
Well, to fill in the gap about the he never fought Americans thing, it is generally accepted that he probably wouldn't have done a whole lot of that unless he had to. But in 1791, something called the Whiskey Rebellion happened, which resulted in General Washington heading a militia of about 13,000 people to put down rebellious farmers.
I remember that.
Yeah,
He
I
did
do.
it in time.
I remember that from 11th grade. The
That was
memories
like
are
only
coming
a year
back.
ago for you, dog. You forgot it that fast.
That was 2 years ago now. Come on now. Let's be kind.
Okay.
That was like 6 years ago for me.
Yeah, same.
Anywho, let's move on to the next question, shall we, Caroline?
Absolutely. We've got one more question about people.
Okay.
Y'all doing pretty good in this category. Okay. we
Sure.
got it. So we're going to talk about Lord Dunmore. Does anyone remember Lord Dunmore's proclamation?
No.
All right. Well, then we're going to talk about it. This is a multiple choice question.
Okay.
Okay. 4 choices. Okay. Did the proclamation, was it British declaration to compel the colonists to remain under British control? Was it the imposition of a new tariff on British goods shipped to the colonies? Was it British endorsement of privateering amongst American smugglers? Or was it a compact promising freedom and land for enslaved people who helped the British?
All of the above.
No, it is
I'm
just
going-
one.
Because like I'm thinking tariffs, Boston Tea Party. That's all that's going through my head right now. That was a lot of words. I'll
was
be
a lot of
honest.
Let's go with C.
That was British endorsement of privateering against American smugglers. You
Yeah,
wanna
let's go
stick
with that. Let's
Sure.
go with that.
You're taking the SAT approach to this.
Yes.
Choosing C.
Yeah. When in doubt-
Unfortunately, that is not going to help you in this moment.
Was it B?
That would have been the tariff option. It was also not that.
Oh. Was it A?
Wow.
It was also not A.
Guys, I think I know the answer. Was it D?
It's D. Congratulations. It is, in fact, a compact that promised freedom and land for enslaved people who aided the British Army during the American Revolution. So let's talk a little bit about Lord Dunmore. That was his title. His name was John Murray. He was the last royal governor of Virginia, and he was colonial administrator of the Bahamas. Do either of you read or watch Outlander?
No.
Oh, well, this is going to go right over your heads, but maybe some of the viewers at home will get this. His father, John Murray, was Scottish. His family was Scottish. So his father fought for the Bonnie Prince Charlie during all that. Read Outlander. It's not incredibly historically accurate, but that's the only basis I've got for this. John Murray himself was a page for good old Bonnie Prince Charlie. And after the famed Battle of Culloden, which is a pretty important time point in those stories, Murray was taken prisoner in the Tower of London until he was pardoned in 1750. A proclamation by John Murray against electing delegates to the Continental Congress, that proclamation sparked Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. So that happened because of him. Not
That's
great, but it
cool.
did.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Most notably of talking about him at all is that the British did actually hold up their end of the bargain on this proclamation for emancipation. The formerly enslaved people who decided to fight for the British during the Revolution, they were freed and were relocated mostly to the Bahamas, but generally a lot to the Caribbean. It's difficult to know exactly how many there were. Estimated 80 to 100,000 formerly enslaved people escaped through the British Army.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about some culture that still survives today. Y'all are going to dominate this category. I put the easy one last. The easy
Our
one
time
to
to
it.
shine.
We need
Okay.
some wins under our belt, Megan.
We do.
You need some wins. All right. What medical procedure was popularized in the US because of the Revolutionary War?
Amputation.
No.
That's
would
actually
be
what I
good.
was gonna guess too. I was gonna guess amputation.
Popularized, as in you didn't have to be in the military to get this medical procedure done.
It's like getting stitches a bad guess. I don't know how that would be, like wounds sewn together. Like,
This wasn't anything that someone got done because of any urgent need. Like if you get stitches, it's because you're like actively injured. This is a thing that you
Band-Aids.
would just do.
Plastic surgery.
No, it was not aesthetic. This was not aesthetic. This was
Band-Aids?
for your health.
Band-Aid is not a medical procedure.
Yeah, you do need a doctor to get this done. Still, we still do this.
Oh, we still do them?
We still do this. All the time.
Colonoscopy.
I feel like for a Civil War joke, that would actually be kind of funny, but no. Not
Oh
that.
For
my
the fathers of
goodness.
our country getting colonoscopies
Colonoscopies.
on their days off.
All right,
No.
can we get another hint?
Yes, you can get another hint. I can almost guarantee that all three of us have had this done in our lives.
Dentist.
It is not dentistry. That's a good guess.
Ice. Getting your eyes checked.
You're in the right family of stuff though. It doesn't have anything to do with eyes, but your vibes are good.
Haircut.
That's
Medical.
not
They
a
wore
medical
wigs.
procedure.
They were. I'm losing. All right, Chloe, you start giving some guesses.
All right, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna try and guide
Wait,
y'all
no,
in the right
hold on.
direction.
No, wait. Time out. It's the same vibe as eyes. It is medical, and we've all had it done before.
It doesn't have anything to do with eyes.
What do you?
She
But then
said-
what do you
she
mean
said
it has the same vibe as
tonsils.
You
eyes?
said getting eyes checked. And
Getting
like the checkup aspect of it is where you're closer.
laser
Is
eye
it just
surgery.
a checkup?
No. But it's medical. I'm pretty sure all three of us have had this done probably multiple times. And here, I'll try and guide you in the right direction.
Does it
okay?
have to do with eyes?
It has nothing to do with eyes. Absolutely nothing to do with eyes. Okay. I want you to think. Okay. Let's take this out of context of the Revolutionary War for right now. The fact that it's wartime is the reason why this procedure was popularized, not the reason it was invented. So let's think about the invention aspect of this. If you were alive in 1750, in terms of medical stuff, what are you afraid of?
Everything.
Death.
Yes, congratulations. That's a great answer. So nowadays, why are we less scared of everything? What do we have now that we didn't then?
Sterilization.
No,
Sterilizing medical tools.
no, not quite.
Infection?
You would definitely do this because of fear of an infection.
Vaccines.
Vaccines! Yes!
Wow, that took us a long time.
That did take you a while, but it's okay. How would you have known
Wow.
that, right? So, the Revolutionary War was kind of a three-fronted war. There's the Americans, there's the British, and there's smallpox. And no one wanted smallpox to win. So smallpox vaccination, or as they referred to it at the time, a process called variolation, has been around for thousands of years. Smallpox variolation has been around forever because as long as smallpox has been around, people have been wanting to avoid getting it. It's a pretty devastating thing to get. And smallpox ran through the American Revolutionary Army like wildfire. The British Army largely were exposed to it as children, but the colonists, like smallpox wasn't a thing in the colonies quite like it was in Europe in the 1780s. So a lot of the American soldiers had never been exposed to smallpox. They didn't have it as little kids. So when they got it at 22 in the Continental Army, they died. And George Washington's like, man, what's happening to my army? This is awful. Like, they're either dying to the British or they're dying to this disease. And people were afraid to sign up for the army, not afraid of dying in war, afraid of dying from smallpox. So George Washington mandated smallpox variolation for any non-immune new soldier in the army. This was the first large-scale preventative health measure in U.S. history.
Wow. And aren't we the better for it?
I mean, we don't have smallpox anymore. It was fully eradicated. There's zero smallpox infections in the world right now.
Honestly, good for George Washington for kind of starting that medical revolution we have in the United States.
Yeah, good for George. That was definitively a good move.
+1 for George.
+1.
+1 aura.
All right. Staying in cultural, but moving away from medicine, because y'all did bad with that one, honestly. Okay, this one's right up Megan's alley. This one's for you. What was the first popular Broadway musical?
Hamilton!
No.
Okay, I didn't let you finish the sentence.
Listen
Can you
to the
finish
question.
the sentence?
You're like those people in Family Feud who hit the button too soon and then say really embarrassed. And Steve Harvey's like, you're going to be embarrassed when I read the rest of this question.
Oh my God.
All right. What was the first popular Broadway musical to tell the story of the American Revolution? Hint, it's not Hamilton.
Isn't there a musical called 1776?
Ding, ding, ding.
Woo!
You get a great.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's 1776. 1776 that's literally what it's called, just the numbers. It was first performed in 1969, so it's older than you think. So it is set in 1776. It heavily reflects the current political climate of the 1960s when it was published, with like odes to the Nixon administration, the Vietnam War, the whole Summer of Love thing that was going on in the late 60s. But in terms of like actual setting and plot, it follows John Adams, Ben Franklin, and Thomas Jefferson in the Second Continental Congress. It's actually regarded as pretty historically accurate in terms of the vibes within the Continental Congress and the way states viewed themselves in their political standing.
Now, is it a play or a musical?
Musical.
Interesting. I've actually never heard of it before. I'm not a huge Broadway person. I like know some things here and there, but yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, I've never listened to any of the music from it, but now I'm starting to think I might be missing out because it sounds pretty cool. That is officially all I have for history pop quiz about Independence Day. How did you do you think?
Not well.
Not good. Not good. Great questions, though. I mean, I learned something today, so.
That's still good. That was the point.
Yeah, we sure learned a whole lot. And it is almost the end of our 4th podcast episode. But of course, we always have to end our shows talking about food. And it being 4th of July this week, we're filming this a couple days before the 4th of July. Let's talk about our favorite 4th of July barbecue foods. I'm going to start with Megan. Because viewers at home can't see this, we're on a Zoom call. Her background is hot dogs. So I kind of think I know what she's going to say, but I'll kick it to you, Megan. What do you want to talk about?
Hamburgers.
What? Plot twist.
I'm just kidding. Of course, I like to have a patriotic hot dog with some mustard, relish, onion, in a bun. I also like some good potato salad. And dessert, I don't know. I mean, there's this dessert, and I could not tell you the name to it, but it's like a pudding. It's like a vanilla pudding with like vanilla like wafers, like
Banana pudding.
Not banana pudding though.
So it's vanilla pudding with
What
vanilla
else do you
wafers?
put what else do you put vanilla wafers in?
I don't know, but it's always at my aunt's 4th of July barbecue party, and that's why I thought of it. And I don't know, one of the friends brings it, and it's delicious, and I can't tell you what it is.
Man, I don't
Well,
know
you're
what
gonna have
you up in New Jersey.
I'm gonna look it up.
I think you should. I think on 4th of July, definitely apple pie fan. Huge apple pie fan. I could take a leave a hamburger or a hot dog, but like barbecue ribs, I'm a big fan.
I love ribs. My dad's favorite hobby is using the smoker to smoke some meats, and he makes apple pie ribs, and they're delicious.
That is such a dad thing to do. July 4th, I mean, like, we have Father's Day, but July 4th is really dad's time to shine.
It's their time to shine.
The real Father's Day.
Exactly. My dad is so proud. My mom was like, we can just, get food from our local deli. We can get chicken from our deli. My dad's like, step aside. I got this.
That's so fun. Okay, well, I know it's been a pretty long episode today, but we hope you enjoyed celebrating the 4th of July with us and talking about some fun facts and learning some history and talking about 4th of July foods. With that, we wrap up Good Morning Gamecocks for today, July 5th, 2024.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at SGTV at USC. And to keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtv@usc.com. For SGTV, I'm Chloe Findlay.
I'm Meagan Daukshus.
And I'm Caroline Smith. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great weekend, Carolina. Forever to thee.